So this morning, it's the second dawn after we found out that Donald Trump had won the election. And the streets and the social media and the media are filled with angst and fear and concern about what Donald Trump is going to do. Most of it based on, twisted, distorted, out of context misunderstandings of proposals and statements by Donald Trump, and assumptions, a lot of assumptions. And of course, all of those things lead to all of the accusations that, Trump was elected by a country that must be racist, bigoted, homophobic, misogynistic, all of that. And yesterday at work, I heard a handful of snarky comments from people indicating that they were unhappy with the results of the election, and seemingly implying that they expected almost everyone else to feel the same way. Now, it's possible that some of them were just commenting on the fact that we had two flawed candidates, but I imagine that most of them were, supporters of Hillary and disappointed with the outcome. And I know that there were a couple of people who were Bernie Sanders supporters among my coworkers, so it's not uncommon. So what I want to start with is that, and I had one interaction with one coworker that I had previously spoken with about the election, because she brought it up, and we had a nonverbal exchange, kind of, that I don't think anyone else could have witnessed or understood, indicating that we were happy with the results. But I heard no other overt statement or comment or signal that anyone actually felt good about the results. I say that as part of my assertion is that people who are conservative are less likely to be open about it, especially now. And the evidence on Facebook and social media is also similar. Liberals are more likely to make comments about politics, and they're more likely to unfriend people who disagree with them, slightly more likely. And among my friends, I know that there are a large proportion of my friends are conservative or libertarian, and a small proportion of those are the ones who may occasionally like a post that I put on there, but almost never comment or share anything of their own. And then it's a smaller number who actually share things and comment on them politically. So my assertion is that liberals and progressives feel it's less risky to talk about politics because they feel like their views are acceptable to people, and I think that perception comes from the fact that they don't often get pushback when they make those little comments or what have you. And I say that because I think what's going on out there is that the liberals and progressives, looking at the results of the election, and because they believe that most people, normal people, mainstream people, agree with them and think like them, they believe that it validates all of the demonization of Trump about racism and misogyny and stuff like that he won the election. And they believe that, and the media was telling them, and people like James Carville and others on NBC were telling them after Trump won that he won by appealing to racism and misogyny and all that. So they believe that this validates that narrative. But I think they're absolutely wrong. I'm not saying there aren't white nationalists out there, and I'm not saying that they didn't support Trump, perhaps. But what I am saying is you're misreading the reality if you think that you're surrounded by people who agree with you. Just because they've said nothing does not mean that they agree with you. Ross Kaminsky is a local radio talk show host, and he told a story about his wife. He himself, during the election campaign, was very troubled over Donald Trump, and in the end, he convinced himself that he should not vote for Trump because he's too risky and too immoral and all of those things. He wouldn't want to go to his children and tell them that he had voted for Trump. And he didn't vote for Trump. But here's the irony. His wife, who, is probably very politically similar to him, did vote for Trump, but she did not tell him that she was going to vote for Trump. So even within their marriage, she wasn't willing to risk talking to him about the fact that she was voting for Trump because she really believed that he might be able to be a good president and that he might be able to do great things for the country. I think that's just a microcosm of the reality here. So the liberals and the progressives, and those of you who are my friends who are liberals and progressives, I hope you'll think about this, that the quiet people around you, when you make one of those comments about politics, if they say nothing or they smile or they even nod a little bit and then move on, don't assume that they agree with you. Many of them do not. Many of them are closeted libertarians or conservatives, and they won't tell you because they're afraid that you might call them a bigot, a homophobe, a misogynist, or something terrible if you tell them the truth about what they believe. And I shouldn't say they're afraid. I should say it's just not a risk they're willing to take. Why bother? They just want to live their lives, go through life, not have a lot of conflict. They want to do their jobs, raise their children, all those wonderful things. My wife is one of those. And she'll occasionally post on politics, and she has in this election because she's just outraged over how totally biased the media is and how outrageous it is that so many people attack Trump so viciously for things that, Bill Clinton was worse at. So all of those were the reasons why it pushed her to that level of being willing to take a little bit of a risk. But she's been slapped hard by some people, and, so she's reeling from that, and it's just not fair. It's just not right. If you're a progressive or a liberal, you need to, and you believe in things like free speech, and you believe in things like democracy, you really have an obligation to be more tolerant of people who disagree with you. That's my admonition. You really have a responsibility to be more tolerant. You should be the ones who are encouraging dissent. And of course, when it was George W. Bush as president, you said dissent was patriotic. So please stop trying to shut people down when they disagree with you. Stop assuming that the only people who could possibly disagree with you are racist, bigots, homophobes. It's not true. It's a lie. It's damaging to our civil discourse. It's damaging to democracy, to our republic. It's pointless. So let's just stop it. And I'll end by referring to an interesting fact that I learned yesterday about the election results. It was in the New York Times. I think it came from a CNN exit polling. 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump. 43% voted for Hillary Clinton. And to me, and I hope to you, that is proof positive that it's not misogyny or racism that motivated people to vote against Donald Trump. It was a belief in either the propriety of his philosophy for this time in maybe not philosophy is the right word, because I don't think he's very philosophical, but the policies that he says he's going to advocate, the attitude he has about the Constitution, the attitude he has about security is more appealing to these women than whatever Hillary Clinton was saying, and or Hillary Clinton's personality flaws, criminal behavior, lies, and so forth were more of a concern to them than the boorish, insensitivity of a narcissist like Donald Trump. But look, Donald Trump is a narcissist. He has an opportunity now to become a Reagan-esque president, and I think that guarantees that he's going to do everything he can and get all the advice he can to try to make that happen. So as a result, I think we should all just sit back, put away the Molotov cocktails, stop throwing bombs. Let's just wait and see. They're going to come out with some policy proposals soon, and if they aren't proposals to, cut the wages of women in half, or deport homosexuals, or any of the things that I've heard, bandied about as the fears on social media, then we can all just get along. Okay?